Yo, what's good, guys? On fire here, back on the video, and today we're going to be hopping into another Madden 24 offensive scheme. This one's going to be our first run scheme of the year. I figured we haven't dropped any love for the guys that like to run the football, so I'm going to drop you one of my favorite schemes out of under center. This Deuce close. Now, I'll probably also bring you guys a bunch X nasty scheme in the future because this is a very good offensive formation. But I like Deuce close. It's good every year. It is solid. It's easy to run. You don't necessarily have to run it all game. You can switch between formations depending on what playbook you're in, of course. But it's very good, very solid, and it's just one of the formations that you would probably want to know how to use. So I'm in the Washington football team offensive playbook. It's in a lot of different playbooks. Now, Washington Chiefs and one other one are the only playbooks that have this PA misdirection, which is probably my favorite passing play. Because you have a post, you have a corner, you have a little baby crossing route, and there's a lot that you can do with it. Some of the other passes I like are bench. My face is covering it on the left. We have 0-1 trap on the middle. PA boot slide, very solid. And then we also have PA post X cross on the right there. That has a really good crossing route for man coverage purposes. And then we have stretch on the right, a little counter on the left, which we probably won't use. My audibles go stretch, trap, bench, and misdirection. No halfback wham this year, I believe, which is a little bit interesting. But it's not something I hate. So before we get into the video, make sure you guys smack that like button, subscribe to the channel down below, turn on those notifications to never miss an upload, and let me know what you guys want to see in the future. But without further ado, I'm just going to start out with the stretch. Now we're going to focus on the run a lot, and we're going to go up against nickel 3-3 Cub. I came out in like a cover 3 match, which is going to kind of look like a cover 1 here because this would be a look that you would actually get if you were running the football. This would be something that I would probably try. I probably will drop a run defense soon as well because a lot of people seem to be struggling to stop the run. Now, running is not necessarily the easiest thing in the world. There are things that go into running besides just getting to the line and snapping the ball because you have to get these guys to block in certain particular ways. Now, obviously, we run the ball for success there. That's part of the reason because this play is so good. Now, one thing that I actually forgot to do that I am going to do out of this Deuce close is I'm going to get a better tight end. Now, we have Juice Check here for the 49ers, and he's going to really be good in this because he can really block, he's fast, and he can run routes and catch the football. So probably if you're running regs, the 49ers are going to be the best team to use this scheme for, or any 2 tight end scheme in the game because you have Juice, and then you have Kittle, and then you have 2 really good receivers with Debo and Ayuk, and then obviously McCaffrey. Now your QB isn't great, but it is what it is. So you saw with that first run, it works stock. Now there's a couple of things that I do that I notice better blocking, and I'm going to actually slide my line to the left, and I'm going to double team this guy. And this is a good way to consistently free up Trent Williams and pretty much guarantee that you're going to get that hole. Now, of course, things could change if he's using it, so that can happen, but it should work for the most part. And again, with that linebacker, it's going to be a difficult angle. And the thing is, he's going to have to start in the middle because if he overcommits to the left side, what can you do? It's a symmetrical formation. All you have to do is flip the run from either side. If he's starting out too far on the left, then what you can do is just go ahead, run it here on the right. Now, running it on the short side may not be as good. Kittle does us no favors there. And things like that will happen when running the ball. I think you all understand that. But, like, block sheds will happen. It just will. Running the ball on the short side is not something I'm the biggest fan of, but sometimes you need to. Like here, we get a little bit better blocks. Again, you see the receiver, he gives up something. So, if you are going to be running the ball a ton, getting good blocking wide receivers could be something important. Now, if we run it on the wide side, it doesn't become an issue because Debo doesn't have to face anybody instantly. But because there's less space over here, pretty much what ends up happening is none of the linemen can get downfield fast enough, and Ayuk has to take this corner. So there's not a whole lot that you can do about it. Here you see you have a chance to outrun him. What I could also do is juke to the outside or maybe bounce that back inside. So there are certainly options. Here is, again, a little bit of a better scenario. But obviously, this would look a lot better because you would only run to the short side if you either A, had numbers, like if it was a cover 2 shell, 2 high safeties, and then the slot corner was on the left. That would be a situation where you run it to the right. I will switch to that defense, actually, just to show you guys. But in like a cover 3 or man cover situation, I'm only going to really run to the short side and if this user is exaggerated to this left side. because running it there is obviously going to handicap you a little bit. And you see we're only picking up 5 yards instead of 15 on these good examples of runs. So just doing these, and again, things like block sheds can happen. You can avoid bigger losses by juking inside. Typically, I try to be a little bit patient when I'm running the football, so I won't hold on to the turbo immediately. I'll kind of let these blocks develop, and then I'll hit turbo once I get to that second level, kind of like I did right there. So I'm going to give you guys a different look for this, but we're going to hop into the 0-1 trap first, and then I'll show that stretch afterwards. Now, another thing you can do with stretch, just to kind of get an extra blocker over there, is you do this little motion snap. Now, this is going to be eye candy mainly, but it's going to be something that we do with the 0-1 trap, so it is something kind of beneficial just to have doing over there. Also, what it does is it gets him moving. Now, I wouldn't do it from the short side. Like in this case, I wouldn't do it with juice check, but depending on what defense he is and how everything looks, you could kind of do this just to get him like more of a lead blocker, and you see how the angle changes. I'm cutting it more inside versus outside. So if he's playing heavy outside and you want to cut this stretch back in, this could be a strategy that you could honestly go to. You move him in, and you see now we have the bounce back, and we get a lot more room than we had, honestly. So again, when you're running the ball, weird things like this can end up working. So I know it's odd. It doesn't really make sense to run the ball to the left and then motion a guy to the right. But obviously you're going to motion snap him. You're snapping him instantly. If you want with Kittle, you can't motion snap him past that like first second. But if you want to, you can motion him over there. Now he doesn't do a whole lot, but the blocking seems to still work really well, or even a little bit better just having him over there, although he ends up picking up the guy on the right side. Maybe if I ID, things change that a little bit, but in this scenario, that's what happened. Now, with the 0-1 trap, what you can do is kind of some of the same stuff. Motion him over. Now, it's important that you do it from the correct side. I think I did it from the wrong side there, because obviously if you have the guard pulling from the left, you're not going to want to have another guy, because that opens up one of these defensive ends. You can't have two guys missing. But motioning over Kittle over here will help you. Now, with 0-1 trap, it's rare that you're going to bounce it outside, so that was terrible run stick. But typically, you can just bounce it inside. You're hoping for good blocks. My run stick is not great out of 0-1 trap, and this is a difficult formation to really just run 0-1 trap against, unless it's too high safety. If you run it stock, you can get it to work. Obviously, you're going to need a powerful pulling guard with good run block power. So, again, these ratings of the offensive linemen are going to be important when you're running the ball. Having good run block is important. Again, you see just preventing sheds. Now, again, with everybody pinched there, it is tough to open things up. So sometimes what I do is I'll maybe motion some guy out. You see how it spreads out the side over here. Now, maybe we flip it or run it from the other side, and we get a little bit more space. So there are things that you can do just to open it up, and we'll motion them out for some of the passes. But spending a lot of time on these runs, so I'm going to switch to that other coverage really quickly here, just to show you a couple of the runs from that other side. So we'll switch to a cover 3 buzz, and now is a perfect opportunity if he's in regular nickel, where you see the nickel corners on the right side. So obviously, what are we going to do? We're just going to always run it to the left side. So again, I like to shift right, double team that man, and then boom, we get just some really good blocks. Now, it doesn't change a whole lot, but it takes out one guy out of the equation, so it's one less guy that can shed a block and make a play on you. 0-1 trap-wise, it is a pretty good scenario as well, just because that guy's a bit further, so maybe you're able to bounce it to the outside, whereas previously I wasn't really able to. But again, 0-1 trap is difficult to run against these formations where the D-line is pinched, but maybe he doesn't pinch his D-line if he's getting killed by stretch, so that's a scenario where it could work. And it probably works better against other formations spacing-wise, like a nickel normal. But obviously, if he's starting to play the run outside, that's where you can hit this 0-1 trap. And obviously, things like dollar, it would feast against. But get a faster, powerful pulling guard. But let's hop into some of the passing plays here now. With the passing plays, I am going to switch back to that other coverage because I think it's a little bit better just to show against these. And the coverage that I like is going to be just this Samuel Blitz 3. It's like a cover 3 match. So it kind of gives you a cover 3 and a man coverage look. I think it's better to show these plays against. I'm going to start on PA misdirection. I like this play the best. All you have to do really quick snap wise is just streak Y. And it's up to you what you want to do with play action. But this is going to really open up Brandon Ayuk over the middle, just having a streak and a drag. It's kind of a quick snap play that you can choose. Now, as far as the corner routes, they're not really going to get open with nothing over there. With corner routes, you really need them to be from the inside. We don't really have any of those. So it is kind of an unfortunate situation, but they would be good against man coverage. They would be good against cover 2, just not really against cover 3. You can also just put A on a little drag. Now you can hit him over there. It's a tough throw, and Purdy puts no heat behind the ball that he throws. But you could maybe throw it a little bit earlier, like right here. But honestly, it's a tougher throw, so you could honestly stay away from it. And that's why the corner routes naked are pretty bad unless it's man coverage. But if you run something like bench, then maybe it opens it up for a window. But you would probably have to freeform it to the outside. Now what I like to do out of this PA misdirection as well is you could go with a little slant concept. So we could still go with something like this. And again, with the play action, you could definitely keep it just because it is going to be instantly shedded. So maybe you don't want to run it, but passing under center is not going to be easy regardless. You're going to get shedded, so you have to be ready to get the ball out of your hands quickly, and good pocket presence is going to be important. Now with that setup, you see they go to a match coverage, so they're actually really going to be playing almost man coverage on it. Ayuk is really good against that, so it's going to be fine. This is going to be a good man coverage setup because you have the slant, and you have some other things that can eat. So obviously Debo gets wide open there. He probably won't be that open, but he should be open against the cover 3. And then you have Kittle. If it's man coverage, he should get open. Depending on how far they're playing over the top, you could maybe hit him. But that's a really good setup, I think, to run. And boom, we're going to run over their whole defense with Debo. But that's a solid setup that you can do. Another setup that I like out of this play is maybe actually running it from the other side. A little short side action. And I would go with B on a zig, A on a backside drag, and maybe Y on a streak here. Here you're just trying to kind of open up your post. This play is obviously going to be perfect for that. It can also maybe open them up as a crosser. You'll see some of that potential action if you want to throw them towards the sidelines. Now you can run that from the short side. You could run it from the wide side. It's probably not going to be as good because you want more space for your drag, but the post may be a little bit more open. Again, I let you throw them on this little zig, and you can honestly maybe throw them over there depending on if it's man coverage or if it's a cover 3 where there's nobody really out there besides the outside third. So feel free to do that. One more thing that you can do out of the PA misdirection is incorporate some motion. Now, obviously you can't motion any of these guys across, but what you can do is incorporate some motion with Ayuk, kind of turning him into a backside post that may be just a little bit better. And then with the running back, there's not a whole lot that you can do, but maybe we throw Kittle on a little out route here instead, and then we put McCaffrey on an out route. Typically, I like to have a 6-man protection just because some guys, people will shed. It's easier to blitz against. And you'll see people run a lot of blitzes against under center because they don't really respect the fact that you can pass out of it, and it's a fair point. But some of the other things you can do is incorporate like these wheel routes. So if I want to run the post from the backside, we can do this. We could block the tight end here as well if we still want to block 6. Just the fact that you can block people from both sides and the running back makes it a good protection against blitzes. But we can incorporate the wheel route here pretty well. He runs it perfectly, better than most gun formations. So take advantage of that for sure. And you can do that concept out of really any setup that we ran almost. But that's going to be it for misdirection. Let's go to bench. Now bench, again, is more of a stock man-to-man coverage play. It's not going to be too good, honestly. But what you can do is incorporate something like this, little drag concept. Maybe you go with the backside wheel. I'm actually going to flip that. So we're going to go wheel over here and something like this. Could be decent for sure. You have the backside drag, and boom, he gets wide open. You have the corner out if it's man coverage, and if it's cover 2, he should still be able to get over the top. Short side, you may have to highball it, but overall, decent concept. You can, of course, still hit Debo on this throw if he's using that guy, or if not, you can hit him like the way we just did there. But overall, it's going to be a solid play to run. With the running back, I don't do too much besides going with the wheel routes. These option routes can be decent spacing-wise as well if you wanted to just throw him out there. He kind of sits in a good spot, but really just running naked corners against zone coverage is not going to work. So it's going to be more of a man coverage play, and you're going to need some good receivers as well. You see they kind of run the same corner out, although bench goes a little bit shallower. So just interesting stuff there that you notice. But let's hop into our last passing play. And again, these passing setups aren't great, but you're not supposed to be passing the ball too many times per game. You don't want to pass it unless you have to. So we have 2 more passing plays, PA boot slide, which is, again, not the greatest play, but you have just a little bit of a deeper corner out. And then we have PA post X cross. So we'll just come out and PA post X cross first. And let's go with the same coverage. Now, could this work as a cover 3 beater? Maybe. Is it going to? Probably not, but you never know. Against cover 3 match, it definitely works, but against obviously regular cover 3, probably not. But definitely that post is a man beater. It can definitely beat cover 1. You saw it there. It can definitely beat cover 3 match or cover 4. So you could take advantage of it there. I'm probably going to switch to a regular cover 3 though, just so we get a little bit of a better look at some of these things. Because I don't want busted coverages, and we all know match is pretty busted this year. So same setup against cover 3. That guy's not going to be open, but that crosser is if you don't throw it like a complete bad player, the way I just did there. And typically with this crosser, I like it going short side, just so it's a little bit faster. We don't need as much time. But wide side, you may get a little bit more separation. So if you throw it right there, then you can actually complete it instead of waiting an extra 2 years for no reason at all. So that's a concept I will go to. Also, what happens is if you flip it, you can still go with this little flat concept, which you couldn't previously go to if you had it from the other side. So with Kittle here, what can you do? You could throw him on a backside drag in certain situations. If you went with something like this, you could throw him on an out route if you want to go with a wheel route concept, which let's test that out now, and it works pretty perfectly. You'll be able to see, and if he's using the wheel route, what he can't do is he should not be able to catch up to your crosser. So that's something you can do, and that is why being able to flip your play with like no tells at all is so valuable, because he never knows. It's difficult to play defense when you don't know what side the routes are going to, and then you also don't know the routes, and you're balancing running the ball and playing run defense as well. It makes it a lot better, and rarely will he ever know what play is coming. So it can definitely be valuable there. If you run it from the wide side, again, something like this can work, and you can keep the play action if you'd like. It's not going to do anything against man, but it should be good against zone, and there you see, again, a lot more separation than those first couple of times without the streak and that running back route. So definitely some good setups there, and again, you can smart out X on these plays. I wish you could motion them over and kind of turn them into a corner route. Unfortunately, you can't. But you can go with a setup like this, a little bit different. You keep the drag same side now, and you just take away the running back route. This is going to really open up cover 3. And again, these setups would work against cover 2, man coverage, of course. So wide open there. So some good setups there. The last play is going to be PA boot slide. Now what you have here is a lot deeper corner route, specifically for man coverage. Not great against cover 3 here, so I may switch to a cover 2 just so you guys can see. But you can definitely hit him. Even with Brock Purdy's 5-second release on the run, thrown across his body, we had enough separation and enough time to complete it. Now if you're running it on the short side, it should be open as well. Now it's a tighter throw, but you can still hit it nonetheless. Now obviously if you run it from the middle of the field, that gives you pretty much freedom to do whatever. Now with Kittle, do I like his route? No, but he does a pretty decent job of pulling down some of those zones. So he's actually not the worst. But, of course, spacing-wise, do you throw drag? It's kind of tough because these guys are almost at the same depths. Now he gets bumped. He runs it probably a little bit deeper, but there's nothing you can really do with X. So typically I will switch him up and try to go with some other stuff. Now, what are your options with him? It's difficult because you don't have much. You can go a little flood concept. Feel free to do something like that. Again, what you can do is go just something like this. You go drag, you go backside wheel. So I would have to flip the play and run it from the short side. So if I flip, you could go with this is what I'm talking about. And that could be an option. Also, A almost gets opened up for a cover 3 beater here. So we're going to try that again. Even with Brock Purdy, we should get pretty close to completing it. It probably will be intercepted, but you guys can see it's going to be a close throw. Now, he didn't For some reason, he didn't bite there. Maybe, of course, because I threw it a little bit early. We'll see it again here. Did seem to get open on that other throw, though. So, P-boot slide. What do we do? This. See if he gets pulled over again here. He does. So, for some reason, that previous setup, he didn't. But there you have a cover 3 beater option. Now, I don't know that it works out of something like bench. But out of this play, it seems to be money. So, or I don't know. It seems to be a 50-50 shot, actually, because it worked that time. It didn't work the previous time. We'll try it again here. Here, he doesn't jump. So, you can't assume anything. You're going to, you saw it work previous play, this play, the corner out would be open. So, make the decision based on that, but it does seem to be pretty good against cover 3. Cover 2, the corner out would be open, of course. And that's going to wrap up the video. If you guys enjoyed, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel down below, and peace. I'm out of here.